Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are live at a somewhat unusual time of Monday afternoon, UK time. And this is Turning Towards Life. This is Lizzie and Justin, as usual. Here we are. And sorry about not being live yesterday. We normally do this on a Sunday morning, and there were varying kerfuffles of internet outages happening. And so we didn't manage it. But we are here, as our usual, by hook or by crook practice of turning up, even if it's difficult, even if we have to reschedule, all of that stuff. So thank you for being with us. And maybe some different people get to listen today because we're doing this at such an unusual time, Justin. There may be some serendipity in it, who knows? And this week we have a source chosen by you, Justin. And if you're new here, essentially what happens is that we rotate who chooses the source. And this week it's sources from Justin. And next week it will be sources from me. And so what we do is we each read the source and then wander into the conversation together and see what insights it brings us to be in the kind of conversation that gets made by our being together and having this third thing other than us two here, which is this wonderful source. Well, four things, one by one person and one by another person going to have. And I'm so interested, Justin, to know the two-ness of this, like what you feel is your motivation for having two sources, which is a little bit rogue, I have to say.
I was very aware that I'd broken with the rule by making a source that's actually two sources put together. Thank you, Lizzie. I want to say hello to everyone. Welcome. And also just, I think, a bit of connecting up, Lizzie, because I was just saying to you before we came on that both of these sources in a way are here because you and I are running a Thirdspace program over the next few days with Nina as well, our dear friend and colleague Nina, which is based upon internal family systems. And it's for people who are alumni of our year-long coaching program. And when we started nearly 6 years ago, Turning Towards Life, one part of the genesis of it was that you and I sat on a train together and had a conversation about how do we share with the wider world the kind of conversations that we get into that come from the world of Thirdspace and all of the things that we do and all of the things that we're interested in. And we thought, why don't we just have the conversations and make them public, make them available? So here's every single one of our 309, I think this one is, conversations is one of those. It's the kind of thing, if you're listening and you're with us, if you were to come and join us in something we do in Thirdspace, whether it's coaching or a program or something like that, you'd get a flavor of it from this. But also very specifically this week, this is what we're up to this week for 4 days with a wonderful group of 10 people who've come to join to deepen all of our thinking and practice in support of other people by working with what's in us. So I thought it was worth saying. I'd like to say hello to all of the 10 of you who are joining us this week. I'd also like to say to all of you, there are many, many of you who listen to this. If you're interested in what Thirdspace is and what Thirdspace does, you can at any point head over to wearethirdSpace.org and take a look. And maybe there'll be something there that resonates with this conversation that interests you. So yes, two sources, Lizzie. Why? Just because I was feeling playful, but I also think they reflect off one another. So the first one, you can always find these in our Facebook group. You can find them in the show notes for the podcast. You can find them at turningtowards.life, all of those places. First one is by Friedrich Nietzsche. The body is a great sage, a many with one purpose, a war and a peace, a flock and a shepherd, a purpose that includes the free and the determined together, conflict and harmony together, multiplicity and unity as one. And to go without this piece from William Martin, within you is a place of love and grace. It's a place without fear, where there's no need to defend or prove, no need to lie or hide. From this place spring words of truth, actions of courage, and a life of love. Wait patiently for the voices of fear in your mind to cease their frantic call to action. Become aware of what the next clear step of love might be. Be patient with yourself. The qualities of a lover do not depend on externals. They take root in your own soul and grow as you attend to them. They all lie within you.
The body is a great sage, and many with one purpose, a war and a peace, a flock and a shepherd, a purpose that includes the free and the determined together, conflict and harmony together, multiplicity and unity as one, says Friedrich Nietzsche. And then William Martin says, within you is a place of love and grace. It is a place without fear, where there is no need to defend or prove, no need to lie or hide. From this place spring words of truth, actions of courage, and a life of love. Wait patiently for the voices of fear in your mind to cease their frantic call to action. Become aware of what the next clear step of love might be. Be patient with yourself. The qualities of a lover do not depend on externals. They take root in your own soul and grow as you attend to them. They all lie within you.
Thank you, Lizzie. Well, I felt like I had to put these together because, in a way, they both say the same thing, and it's something really radical, which is that Lizzie or Justin or anyone isn't just one anything. I love this. We're war and peace, flock and shepherd, free and determined, conflict and harmony, multiplicity and unity. And where Nietzsche goes with it, which is, I'm really glad that he says this, is he says, what all that adds up to is a great sage. You know, it's not there's nothing wrong with our amazing complexity. There's enormous wisdom in it. But what Nietzsche is missing that William Martin brings is what to do with all of that. Because I think it's one thing, it's one step to start to see how many there are. And goodness, I've been noticing how many there are in me this week, Lizzie, as I step back into quite a full set of commitments, having had quite a way, and there are many, many things to juggle and hold on to. And there are parts of me that are joyful, and parts of me that are panicked, and parts of me that don't want to let anyone down, and parts of me that want to get on with it, and parts of me that want to run away, and parts of me, you know, all of that, parts of me that feel tired already. So I think we need William Martin as well, because I think we need, as well as knowing that we are filled with this teeming life, we also need to know what to do with it when what we feel is the teemingness, the complexity of it. So I love and really appreciate William Martin's invitation to be patient, and to know that right in the heart of this multiplicity is something without fear, something that isn't really any of the parts. And for me, it's incredibly important, because I know that I can very easily get caught up or identified with or merged or flooded by some part of me that's got incredibly strong feelings about something. And it happens a lot, really happens a lot. And I feel like I'm learning anew what it is to notice one of those when it happens, to appreciate it for whatever it's trying to be up to, which might be have great wisdom or trying to protect me or something like that. And what it is to be purposeful about finding the place in me that William Martin talks about, the place of love and grace without fear, to respond from there. Because life is really different when I remember. Last thing is, and I forget. So I can feel like I need Nietzsche and Martin printed out and put everywhere. as a reminder, really, of who and how I want to be in the world.
Justin, as you're talking, I'm realizing how this set of sources is so safety making. So I think there's like this general demand in the world to be coherent or something. And I've been reading some things this week, which I'll probably bring as another source at some time, about safety and putting language to the things that are on the inside of us, and the power of finding language for those things that are on the inside of our experience and letting them through language live into the world rather than just be on the inside of us, and how profoundly important that process is in order for us to feel welcome here. And as you were reading, I was feeling the profound welcome to, I can be the flock and the shepherd, I can be war and peace. And that's entirely appropriate given the kind of being that I am, that has a body. So when you said the way that this is held is that the body is a great sage, it's a kind of super safety making set of language that both Nietzsche and William Martin have, that allow me to be honest and to be committed to whatever is going on the inside here having a place in the world. And that in my languaging of my inner experience into this space here, or with a trusted person outside of this space, I get to be welcome. I get to feel at home, because I know so many times the experience I have when everything's going on the inside of me and nothing is revealed and it's all swirling away like a bonkers cupboard of madness on the inside. And as I bring those threads forth and I put language to them and I tell the story of them, I say what's happened to me, I declare my reality into a place that's safe, I get reconnected into the world. So this week I've been marveling at the extraordinary talent of language, that it has me feel welcome. It has me feel like I'm connected. And of course, the opposite of that is also so true when I forget that I have language, and that even if I don't know what I want to say, but I try and I struggle and I bring out things that are half baked and I don't really know how to say them, even in the efforting of that, in the just putting my best foot forward as to try and describe my experience into a safe space, into another human world that's intended towards holding me and being this place of love and grace that William Martin says. For me, I get to be reconnected back into the world again. And so the permission that this gives me to not be coherent, but just to say what there is to say from whatever part of me that's arising, in the context of the love and grace and the wholeness, the unity holding the multiplicity, or the harmony holding the conflict. Because that exists, I'm safe to articulate my inner experience, because it's all allowed. It's just all okay. If it's a human experience, we can say it, and it's acceptable, and it's welcome, and it's just fine. But the just fineness comes from this love and this grace and this place where words of truth spring forth from. And I'm so miraculized by feeling into that this week, and really grateful for this particular set of sources that points to exactly that kind of safety.
I'm moved by what you have to say, and one of the things I know about you is that you're a person who's very generous about naming about hanging out in the naming of what doesn't feel like it has coherent yet, that's half formed, and finding what's true in the middle of it. And you're speaking here to this one that I am. I've had so many years of practice at Lizzie of holding it all together. You know, my the way I learnt to get on in the world very early, which then served me very, very well in lots of different environments, was to hold it all together, was to be one thing, not many, to be coherent rather than a multiplicity, to be intelligible rather than confusing, to be. So actually all of those skills are useful in certain contexts. But what I've been noticing over the last few weeks as I've been thinking about how I want to bring myself into this period of time as we head out of summer, and actually it's Jewish New Year this week, so it really feels like a new year for me, and I'm thinking about entering into the new year. I've been thinking about how often, because of those protective patterns in me that served me well, how often what I've done is I've kept what's most true under wraps in order to try to belong, or in order to try to look a certain way. And there's a very big cost to that. So one of the costs is, I think that certainly seems true in me, I think that we humans are really sensitive to truth. I think we know in a very deeply bodily level when we're not speaking truth about ourselves, or about the situation we find ourselves in, or what we intend, or any of those kind of things. So that's one part of it. And the other part of it is, I think, until we can do what you're saying, which is to name, so naming accurately what here is a way of being truthful, like you said, but it's also a way of giving this marvelous many with one purpose, a war and a peace and a flock and a shepherd, letting all of that be in the world. And I'm sure I'm not the only person in the world. I know I'm not the only person in the world who learned that the best thing to do with my complexity was to keep it under wraps, and my contradictions, and keep them under wraps. And it's sort of like, it feels to me, it's the one way of talking about it. It's the sort of on the edge of trying to be socially acceptable at the cost of giving what's in us a home. It's the best way, not giving what's in us a home. And I know that when I name accurately this thing that you brought in, that's really important, which is what happens when we name accurately. If I can give a name to, for example, the part of me that often when we're doing this, the part of me that's thinking, have I even listened to Lizzie, anything that Lizzie said? Is this got anything to do with our conversation? Like, if I can give name to its presence, one thing is it has you know me better in a more real way. But the other thing is naming that part of me also helps that part to quote William Martin, to cease its frantic call to action. So the more I pretend that that isn't a part of me in order to look good for you or to myself, the more that part of me tends to amplify the very thing that it's trying to have happen, because it doesn't feel like it's being attended to. And so naming doesn't just do something by way of being known by you, it does something so that the multiplicity in me gets known by me and gets met by me. And as William Martin said, they take root in your own soul and they grow as you attend to them. And that's part of what naming well does as well.
As you're talking, Justin, you're having me think somehow about, naming parts of me that come forward, like the part of me that wants to do that socially acceptable thing, versus the part of me that's wants to tell the truth. There's parts that are of that kind of nature. And I was just thinking that because earlier somebody started talking about something that made me feel really, really like I was going to faint. And I said to her, please, can you stop talking about that? Because I think I might just keel over in a second. I felt really unsteady. And I don't think she understood that I was actually being serious. I think she just thought I was saying it as a, like what you say when someone says something gory or whatever. And I actually meant it. And I could feel myself saying, well, she didn't understand that. So just shut up, because you're just going to have to get through this, because it'll be awkward if you say it again. But the part of me that was trying to be socially acceptable was saying, just be quiet. But the problem was I was actually going to keel over. So I thought, I have to speak. So I said, no, I am actually being serious. Please, can you stop talking about that now? Because I need to go and sit on that bench. And someone needs to come with me and hold my arm, because I think I'm going to keel over, because what you've said is somehow triggering my nervous system. And so there's that, which feels so important, to be naming parts. I mean, that was just a small happening, but it did show me how I've got this socially acceptable part really quite forefront, that would even forego my own health just to kind of carry on an ordinary conversation when I'm having a walk. But then the other part of the conversation that feels really important is that naming the story of what happened is also really important too. Not just the kind of articulation of the parts, but in addition, an articulation of what the events were, how it unfolded, what the detail was, who was there, how it impacted me, which might give rise to speaking about parts of us in lots of beautiful ways. I can also see how only speaking about the parts of us also robs us of the kind of honesty of all of the color of what actually happened and the story. So I'm really moved by the importance of both things, and how connecting it is to tell each other our stories of whatever happened during the day, or when I was little, or when I made a fool of myself at the station one time, or whatever. And of course there will be parts there of me that come forth. There's parts that's embarrassed, or there's parts that are ashamed or feeling sorry or whatever. But the story about what happened feels really important to me in this moment of, oh, well, I fell down the stairs, and the reason I fell down the stairs was because the thing was really slippery and it had been raining, and the tread on the stair was really slippery because the metal had been worn down by years and years of people on treading on it. And like the color of life, the color of what's happened, the reality of a story feels also like a really powerful thing to share into the safe space. Well, and how brilliant if there could be story in parts, that there could be both things present, so that we really get to connect on a very story-based human level, at the same time as making visible, making welcome, like you said, finding a home for the process that's on the inside that goes with that story as well.
I'm pointed back as you're speaking about story, about the importance of telling our stories, and of honoring the many different parts of us that are present in the stories. I think that's the way I'm hearing this. Of these words from William Martin: within you is a place of love and grace, without fear, where there's no need to defend or prove, and no need to lie or hide. And then beyond that, there's something else as well, which is we long to do none of those things. He's written it in this very beautiful way that sort of it doesn't need fear, defending, proving, or lying or hiding. And I think the truth of it is that even though that there are certainly parts of me that want to do all those things, that think it would be better to defend, prove, lie, and hide in order to get along. Definitely all of those parts. Every time I find a way to tell somebody else the story of my experience as fully as I can, it's incredibly healing and it's incredibly connecting, because I think that's what we both are the self that we are, which is this love and grace that from which spring words of truth, and all of our parts long to be known. Maybe that's really a way of talking about what it is to be human, is that we're all longing to be known in one way or another. I think for any of us who learned to be very contained as a way of getting along, this invitation is sort of like one of those terrifyingly squirmy kind of things to invite us to really name our shame and our joy and our longing and our desires and our hopes and our messiness and our terror and our, if we know that if we know that we all have within us that which makes it possible to make all of that known, there are such gifts, I suppose, the gifts that Nietzsche is pointing to, of the great wisdom that comes from hearing about you on the steps, or you needing to go and tell somebody that they needed to stop, otherwise you were going to faint. And there's many stories I can feel bubbling up in me at this moment that want to be told. They all lie within you.
Yeah, I'm feeling very kind of held by this, what feels like a universal piece of truth that William Martin declares so clearly, that within you is a place of love and grace. Like, I'm not saying maybe there is, I'm saying there is, and that is entirely reliable, and that we can rely on that. That is a baseline situation. It doesn't not exist. It's here, in us, of us, as us. And goodness me, what a relief that is true. And it's true because William Martin says it. It's true because I experience it in myself. It's true because I experience it in you. It's true because I experience it in the world lots and lots and lots and lots of times. And what a excellent experiment to see whether that's true in the world all the time.
Well, I'm appreciating this as a very beautiful place to end, Lizzie, and I feel moved this week to take on a practice of doing exactly what you've just said, of trusting that within myself and seeing if I can seeing what I can do to experiment with the ways in which I find myself holding back, making all of this another step more available to the people around me, and to you and to my family and to the people we'll be learning with this week and to the community that I'm part of. And so thank you for making that a wonderful invitation. And thank you everybody for being with us, for listening and participating in your own ways in this conversation on the silent side of this. But we know it's not silent. It's silent to us right now, but it's not silent in and between all of you. And you're so welcome to tell other people about this project, this conversation, invite them in. And all being well, we will be back again at the weekend for our next conversation.
Thanks, everyone. See you next
Thanks,
week.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.